Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Nash from Ryder. Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. You know, for those not familiar with Ryder, you guys are a D1 program in the MAAC, which is always a tough conference, tough outs in that neck of the woods. Let's talk about recruiting a little bit. I think there's a lot of confusion around when coaches and schools start looking at players. So for you guys, when in the process, I mean, obviously you got the June 15th of the junior year timeline, but when are you really starting to look at players and really kind of get that process kicked off?
Yeah, it's really tough to give a set answer for that, unfortunately, because of COVID. I was at a showcase this weekend, and I sat with some club coaches that I've known for years, and they're kind of looking at it as it's just different. A lot of guys have an extra year of eligibility, so guys are using that extra year eligibility to either stay at their school for another year or begin their master's program, and they go to that fifth year. So there's a little bit of a logjam as far as rosters are concerned, and it's slowing the process down a bit. Now, certain programs, certain programs like the ones that are competing for national championships, June 15th, they already have their list ready, and they know who they're going to be contacting. They've been watching those guys since they were sophomores. Ryder, we're not at that point with our American recruits. We are still putting the finishing touches. We have one spot still open for August, but we don't have a very large list for that. We have about 4 guys, and if one of them commits, then we are done with recruiting. As far as the 23s, again, we're a little bit different because we have a very international roster, but this weekend really kicked it off for us. And myself and our other assistant, he was at EDP in New Jersey. I was at another showcase in New Jersey. And now we're starting to look at 23s. We're not foolish enough. If there's a good 24 out there, we're going to put them in our database, and we're going to keep them there for a year. But the other thing is, like we have a clinic coming up this weekend, and there's going to be 23s and 24s at that clinic, and just trying to give themselves exposure to the campus and to the Ryder staff.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And you mentioned you guys are fairly heavy international. What does that look like in terms of, for an American player, what do they, how do they stand out, I guess, at a school who maybe, they really, kid wants to go to Ryder, but understands, hey, there's a lot of international kids I'm kind of fighting against that I've never seen, that I don't know what I'm up against, right? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, you know what, to be honest with you, it's a challenge for the American kids, because the American kids, they're 17, 18 years old. And a lot of the international guys, they are players that their first thought was, I want to play professionally. So these guys are 19, 20, 21 years old. Some guys are even up to 23 years old, and they wanted to go the pro route. And then they eventually hit their ceiling, and whatever club that they're working with over there says, okay, we're not going to offer you a pro contract. So that's the talent level that they're going against, and there's a little bit of an age difference that they're going against too. So as far as preparation, you can't really prepare. It's more of you have to own your college selection process is what it comes down to. So for the American kids, it's not going to. I don't think the days where you can sit back and the phone's going to ring and they're going to be knocking down your doors. You have to do a little bit of that salesmanship yourself, and you have to be organized with returning emails. You have to return texts. You have to let coaches know, because plans are changing. Weather's changing. There's so many things that you say, this is what I was going to do this weekend, and then bam. I was recruiting this weekend, and there was miscommunication, and a team was 2.5 hours late. So the other team had to just sit around and wait for them. But coaches need to know those different things of, hey, I'm going to be here this weekend. I might be going to this school's camp. Like I work the Ryder camp, but I also work many other college camps too. So I can see guys that are looking at their schools, and maybe they'll jump out to me. But I think when you're 16, 17 years old, it's tough to own the process, but you really do have to embrace it and say, this is a very important decision that I'm going to make. So Mom and dad are going to give me some guidance. The assistant coaches and the coaches from the different schools are going to give me some guidance, but I have to take charge of this process.
No, that's great advice. You mentioned camps, you mentioned tournaments that you guys recruit at. I guess what are your must go to events, and how important are camps for a recruit in terms of attending and really figuring out what schools they want to go to, or even just being, seen?
To be honest, we don't really look at it as something that we must go to. I know some schools, they want to go to the MLS playoffs in Frisco, and that's a must for them. We may go to that, but when we start looking at our database and say, okay, we have 10 guys here this weekend, but we have 20 guys here this weekend, it doesn't matter what the name of the showcase is. We're going to go where it's going to be most efficient for us. We don't judge, and say this is a better one. And as far as the clinics, now you're allowed back on campuses. And when you weren't allowed on campuses for about a year, how do you make a decision? There were the Zooms and there were the virtual tours, but that's not the same as being on a college campus. When you go to the college camps, if you do just a one day, that's great. But I like to encourage the overnight, because when you do the overnight, you get to experience what the dorm life is like, and you get to sleep in a dorm, you get to eat cafeteria food. So you're not like you're closer to a freshman experience than just going and playing for 3 hours and meeting some of the players on the team, meeting the coaches, seeing what the coaches are like, seeing what the facilities are like. It's not as all-inclusive as being able to do 1 or 2 nights overnight, but it's becoming much more important. The one thing that I've talked to coaches about, I think we have a responsibility to try and keep the costs down, and the costs continue to rise on it. And I'm not in a mind frame of we have to do this to make profit. That's not what we're doing it for. We're doing it to help the process. We're trying to help funnel down our process, but we're also trying to help the student athletes funnel down their process. And instead of having 10 schools, they might go to 3 or 4 camps in a summer and say, you know what, I can eliminate those 2 schools, and I really like these 2 schools, and it helps out quite a bit. But some people that recruit, they can't afford a camp. A camp could be close to $600, and we understand that. And again, that's just something that you have to adjust and figure out how it fits into your college search process.
Oh, for sure. Well, when you're coaching at a camp or watching players on the field at a tournament or something, what, I guess for Ryder, let's say, not, it might be a little bit more broad than just you, but what really are you guys looking at in terms of your hierarchy of, we want to make sure that a player checks all these boxes, whether that's on the field or off the field stuff?
Well, yeah, it definitely is both of those, because when we go to one, we don't sit there with the list and say, we are definitely looking for just a number 6. We go there and we're like, okay, who are the top guys here? And how do you set yourself apart as a top guy? One, your work rate's going to be there. And that's very easy for a coach to pick up on. Are you working? 2, what kind of soccer brain do you have? And, we put you in a lot of different type of drills that aren't position specific. So maybe you are a number 10, but we might put you as a center back just to see what kind of soccer mind that you have. What checks the box from a soccer skill set is, how's your first touch? How's your first touch, and how are you looking over the field? One of the things that's big for Coach Nash, and it may not be for other coaches, is I want vocal players that are going to help out the teammates and say, hey, there's a man on, or you can turn, you have time and space. Because how many times do you hear somebody communicate after the fact? And it's very easy to communicate after the fact, but that doesn't help your teammate out, and that doesn't help the team out. Division I, soccer speed and physical speed are definitely things that check the boxes. I think some people are under the mind frame that Division I, they only want 6'2" guys that can run 4 or 5 40s. That's the perfect world, but how many people can actually do that? So again, it's what's your soccer brain like? How hard are you working, and what kind of teammate are you? And I think we all know that there's some guys out there that you can pick up on a bad attitude. And once we pick up on a bad attitude, whether you're yelling at a teammate, whether you're yelling at a referee, that's going to put a down arrow next to your name when we're going through it all.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let's talk about the school a bit. For folks who aren't familiar with Ryder, obviously we can go to the website and get the basic facts, but give me the inside scoop. What makes Ryder just a great place for a student athlete?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I was talking about that when I actually in state, which college in New Jersey, and we're about that school's located about 3 miles from Ryder. And when I started getting my undergrad and my graduate degree, we knew about Ryder, but it wasn't a place that we ever really visited. We stayed on our own campus. We worried about what we were doing at Trenton State, and never really ventured out. We never ventured to Princeton either. We just kind of were self-contained. When I left Bucknell last August and came back home to New Jersey, and the opportunity arose at Ryder, to be honest, I had to educate myself, and I had to find out what made it special. And it's a nice campus, but I think the most important thing is it's such a good location, and the location. This appears to international guys, but it would also we're trying to expand it to out of region guys. As our location is, we're less than an hour from New York City, we're less than an hour from Philadelphia, we're less than an hour from the beach. So you pretty much, if you wanted to get off campus, you have all those things available to you. The campus is not a huge campus. It's pretty self-contained, but there is a bit of an off-campus atmosphere. But when we talk to the guys, some of our guys on the team, they live off campus. To try and visualize the campus, it's really, here's the campus, and then off campus is literally right next door. So there's sets of condos that are located right next to the campus, and it's considered off campus, but you're pretty much attached. So you do get the campus life of what it's like on a Friday and Saturday when you don't have classes. Walking around the campus, people are just, it's a friendly campus, and people walk around and they're going to say good morning. They're going to say, how you doing? As far as majors, the big major is our management program is one of our best majors. And again, I think that has to do with our location, because we're close to Philadelphia and we're close to New York City, the financial capital. So guys can go and get jobs and internships in New York City, and it's a very attractive one for them. One of the things I've learned about our international guys is they didn't come over for the experience. They came over and they started a new life in the United States. And again, because of our location, that helps out quite a bit.
Oh, that's great. Can you talk about kind of the support mechanisms that are in place to help with both the academic side as well as the athletic side for new students?
Well, the good thing is we actually have a great team GPA, and last semester, this year was my first year with the team, and when the grades came out and I saw that we had a 3.4 team GPA, I was very proud of that, because I came from Bucknell University, which is a very academic institution, but our team GPA at Bucknell was not quite that high. Our guys work. Now, our guys work, and a lot of times they do not need to use the resources that are available, but as soon as something is happening, we can get them to a tutor. We have a tutoring service right in the athletic facility where you can use the tutoring service. But what I've learned is tutoring kind of, it's like you have a teammate, and your teammates usually help you out. So if you're struggling in, let's just say, Business 101 as a freshman, well, a junior or senior probably took that course at some point. And when you're sitting in the locker room or you're sitting in the bus, they kind of act as a tutor to you, and they help you through the process. If you have a class that somebody is not very familiar with, then we put you with the tutoring services. The other good thing about Ryder is we're a Division I school and we don't have football. So soccer is one of the main drivers during the fall. So there's a lot of resources, but we're also under the microscope. So if guys are missing class or not doing well in class, the professor's going to know about that right away, and they're going to get in touch with somebody on our staff, and we're going to address it as quickly as we possibly can. Again, I've only been there 2 semesters, and we haven't had to address it, but Coach Inverso has told me in the past that the professors will reach out and say, so-and-so is just not doing as they should be doing in class, and we address it right away when we have to.
Okay. Well, what does if we were in the season, what would you say a typical week? I know there's no such thing as typical, but looks like for a player in terms of, what all are they doing in terms of what time they get up and eating and practice and games and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, this season coming up is going to be my first season with Ryder, but after this first semester, you schedule your classes. So you figure out if you're going to take 12, 15, 16, 18 credits a semester, and everybody puts their schedules together. They give it to the staff, and then we look at it and we say to them, guys, we would like you to take 3 to 5 o'clock with no classes. Most times that works out. Sometimes that won't. So that might be a situation where Joe might have to miss Tuesday practice, and we just have to deal with that. But 3 to 5 is typically what we like to have as our practice times. Travel on the weekends, we travel by bus. Actually, during midweek games, we try and keep our travel to a minimum. And again, our location's pretty good where we can get to Pennsylvania schools, New York schools, Maryland schools, New Jersey schools relatively quick midweek. On the weekend, we'll travel to different tournaments, different campuses, and just try and give the guys different opponents. So we play different teams during their 4 years. The MAC is a little bit bigger geography-wise than the Patriot League was where I was. So we take a flight every year, whether it's Canisius, Niagara, whatever one it's going to be. Each year we're going to fly up to Buffalo for one of our trips. Lifting is different during the season and versus the off season. We focus on our lifting a lot more during the off season. Your time you have to have a much better time. You have to budget your time much better during the season because we're going to have scouting reports. We're going to have film sessions. We're going to have practices. So you pretty much need to know that about 20 hours a week. 20 hours is what the NCAA maximum that you can put in a week. When we fill out our timesheets, it's usually 16 to 18 hours is what a student athlete puts in each week. In the off season, it's much less than that, but you also do other things that keep you connected to the program. One of the things that we did at Ryder that I loved is, we were watching all the Champions League games in the team room together. Then when we got to the Nations League game, unfortunately the semester ended, but with the international team, that was pretty fun going in there and saying, okay, we're rooting for this team or we're rooting against this team just to have some fun with the teammates. But some schools out there, they like to do 6 a.m. sessions because that way everybody can make it. We're not a fan of that because they're college students, and unfortunately college students don't sleep as best they should. They're not going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. They may be staying up till 12 or 1 o'clock. So getting them up at 5:30 for a 6 a.m. practice, we don't feel like they're going to have the best practice. We want them there 100% mentally and physically. So 3 o'clock, hopefully you get the classroom out of you and you're ready to go at 3 o'clock every day.
I felt the same way as both a player and a coach. The 6 a.m. just didn't make any sense. You're not scheduled for any games at 6 a.m., so let's not practice then.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely not a good dress rehearsal.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team and the soccer side of things. So, do you guys have a roster size that you try to hit every year?
We do. It's anywhere from 24 to 28. Last year, again, I wasn't with the team, and they made it to the MAC championship game, but they did it with tape and band-aids and crutches. So they had a lot of injuries and still somehow got to the championship game. So the staff made a conscious decision to make sure we had more depth this year. So we're going to have, right now we have 27. And like I mentioned earlier, we still have 1 spot left. So we're going to cap it at 28. And that's a little bit bigger than we usually do. But again, kids are getting injured so easily, and I think part of that is because they're playing too much soccer these days, and there's no downtime to really recover the muscles, and the wear and tear it catches up with them over time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we talk about the size of the team. What about the size of the staff? How many coaches are there? What roles do you all play, and how everything gets executed for the team?
Well, Coach Inverso, he's been there for a while now, and if people don't know Coach Charlie Inverso, he's a legend in the game. He built a junior college powerhouse at Mercer Community College where They competed for national championships. They won national championships. He put quite a few guys into the MLS, and Mercer is where Ryder is located. So he didn't have to move when he moved to the Division One. So Coach is pretty much, he's been around the game so much. He understands the game. He's the head coach. I'm the assistant coach. It's a new role for me. And, you know, one of the things that I have actually joked with my parents, my friends about is I'm getting used to the role of good cop. And for 24 years, I didn't have the role of good cop. But Coach Inverso gives me a lot of freedom because I was a head coach at Bucknell for 24 years. So he gives me the freedom to say, okay, go recruiting. You figure out what tournaments are going to be best for us and go. And if I tell him this is a player that I really liked, he's going to pick up the phone and he's going to reach out to that person. He'll ask for film every now and then, but he more so knows that I know what a Division I player is after 24 years. Mark Pratico is our other assistant coach, and he's not in the office as much as Coach Inverso and I are because he has a full-time job, and he also works with the club team, and that's very helpful for us because every single weekend he has his eyes and ears somewhere. And, you know, he's working with the MLS team. So they're playing against MLS teams every weekend. And he'll just send me a text. He'll say, hey, Coach, email this guy from this team and let's get the process started. We've had a goalkeeper coach, Elvira, in the past, and he just had an infant. So we're hoping that he's going to be able to stick with us. But he has kind of let us know that if being a dad becomes a little bit too tedious for him, being a dad is going to be more important than being a goalkeeper coach. We're not, we will miss him a lot, but Coach Inverso was a goalie himself, and that was his strong suit. So if we don't have a goalkeeper coach, Coach Inverso is going to assume the goalies. He's going to assume the attack, and I've always been a defensive-minded coach, and that's one of the reasons Coach Inverso brought me on because they were surrendering close to 2 goals a game last year, and he knows my specialty is tightening up on the defensive end. And that kind of, it's tough to be the defensive-minded coach and the good cop at the same time because the defensive-minded coach has to be very tough on guys. And then when we're done and we're getting a water break, I have to go back to being the good cop.
Yep. Totally get that. Well, with all that being said, how would you describe kind of the team style of play and the culture of the team?
You know, I did not know much about Ryder's talent because we didn't play him when I was at Bucknell. So when I first started going to the practices, I really didn't know what to expect. You know, it's easy enough to see that they went to the MAC championship and they lost to Maris on penalty kicks. Okay, you're going to assume that they're good. But when I started going to the practices and working with the guys, I told everybody when they were like, you enjoying getting back into coaching? I said, I'm enjoying it more than I could have imagined because this team is so talented. They have so much talent that I'm really excited if we get organized and we stay disciplined and we take care of the defensive side of the things, we're going to surprise a lot of people, I think, because the talent is there. The other thing that I really like about these guys is they are very competitive. And sometimes that means that, you know, when we're in a 5v5 situation, I have to blow the whistle and say, whoa, this is getting a little too intense, calm it down. And they're like, no, we just want to win. I'm like, I know you want to win, but it's a practice. And I think that competitiveness is going to carry over to August. And we're playing some pretty good competition. So I'm hoping that we can open some eyes with our non-conference schedule, but it will prepare us for the MAC games. The atmosphere in the team, you know, it's something that's, I don't know how many teams out there can say half their team's international and half their team's American, and they learn from each other and they feed off of each other. It's not like we have an American side of the locker room and an international side of the locker room. We have a locker room, and you know the American guys start to learn the different countries' cultures and the different habits that they have, the different types of humor that they have, the different type of traditions that they have, and share the American traditions. You know, teach the guys a little bit about football, a little bit about baseball, some different things that just helps with the whole entire experience that you would have at Rider University. It's something that I'm very excited for what the future holds.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. I always end with the same question, which is what didn't we talk about? What did we miss, or what are there anything else you want to let us know about the school, the team, the program, or anything else?
No, not really. I think it's just one of those things that, like I said earlier, if somebody's listening to this interview, do your homework. Go to rider.edu, because for some people it resonates with them, but with other people they're going to look at it and it's not for them. And we're totally okay with that, because otherwise we'd have 75 guys on our roster. The other thing is, I probably should have mentioned this earlier when you said what do you look for in a guy. We want people that want to be part of what we're doing. So if we have to convince you to come to our university or convince you to be part of our soccer program, we're going to have to reconvince you over and over and over again. And that's not really something that we want to do. We want to be around and coach student athletes that are passionate about our school and our soccer program. So as people go through the process, hopefully they find that school that just clicks and says, all right, I believe in this, and I'm going to have a passion for this every day, and I'm going to love going out to practice every day, and I'm going to love putting on the jersey that if it doesn't say Rider or whatever school it does say, you're going to put so much pride if you're passionate about where you're going.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck here in the fall, and hopefully you can redeem that PK loss in the championship to Marist and bring home the hardware. So appreciate it, Coach.
I really appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for all you do for college soccer. It's very appreciated.
No, thank you.
All right, good luck to you.
All right, Coach, thanks. I'll probably have this up later this week, but I'll shoot you an email, let you know when it goes live. But we tag all the social media accounts and all that stuff. So, all right.
Okay, and we're okay. Just like once it's there, we're okay. Send it to recruits, right?
Oh, absolutely. We'll get it as
okay.
far and wide as possible.
Okay, awesome.
All right, thanks, Coach. Yep, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.